Hello everyone, welcome back to the third video in our Let's Talk Race series. So before we've been discussing race and what it is and melanin and the science behind race, right? But now we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to start discussing discrimination. So what is discrimination, right? Does anyone know what that means? Discrimination is an act of making an unjust distinction between humans based on the groups and categories in which they are supposed to belong. Um, intersection. So what does that mean? As humans, we often separate people into different groups. Some of these groups can include race, gender, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, ability, religion or belief. So discrimination is discrimination is making an unjust distinction or treating people unfairly based on those categories. What are some ways in history or even today that you can see discrimination? What are some ways that that historically people have been discriminated? Take a moment and discuss this with the people you're watching the video with. Now we're going to move on to analyzing how the different aspects of people's identities might contribute to how much discrimination they receive. This is called intersectionality. So, what's intersectionality? Intersectionality is the fact that different aspects of someone's identity all contribute to how much oppression they receive. For example, a black woman will face racism and sexism because they are black and because they are a woman. A black man or a white woman would face less discrimination. For example, this can be seen in the wealth gap. For every dollar a white man makes, a white woman makes 78 cents, and a black man makes 74 cents, but a black woman makes 64 cents. Discrimination affects people differently based on their identity. Some aspects of identity include, and they're pretty much the same as the ones on the previous slide, but race, gender identity, nationality, class, sexual orientation, age, religion, height and weight, or disability. So let's move on to equity versus equality. So what's equality and what's equity? We have a quote on the side that reads that equality is giving everyone a shoe, but equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits. Equity is the concept of giving people what they need to thrive, not giving everyone the same thing. We have a picture on the slide that shows people watching a baseball game, albeit illegally. And equality would be giving everyone the same box to stand on, right? It's everyone's getting the same thing, it's equal. However, we might notice that some things aren't exactly not everyone's getting the same result, right? The first person is really tall, and so he doesn't really need that box. The second person needs that box, but he only needs one to see over the fence. And the third person is too short, even with one box. Giving everyone the same thing isn't helping them thrive, right? So in the second picture, we have equity, which means that the first person doesn't need that box, so we give it to the third person, and now everyone can see over the top of the baseball field, right? We have the second picture we have has different shoes. Everyone might not need or want the same shoes, right? Depending on what your needs are, you might need different types of shoes. We're going to discuss privilege a little bit because everyone has a different amount of privilege, and that contributes to how much you might need of different things. To do this, we're going to watch a quick video. So what I want you guys to do is to get a lined piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. If you don't have a lined piece of paper, you can draw lines on a piece of paper. And so what we're gonna do is at the top of the paper, you're gonna write $100. On the bottom of the paper is start. So put a dot on the bottom line to describe where you're starting at. The YouTube video that we're gonna watch, a man is gonna call out different statements, and so if one of the statements apply to you, that jump forward 2 lines if it applies to you. If not, then just stay where you are. Let's start the video.
Hey, line up! Line up! Everybody line up! We're about to race! Everybody line up! Shoulder to shoulder! Take off your backpacks! Basketball, line up! We're about to race! Hey, we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this. A $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a...
So let's just think about that activity for a few minutes. How far did you get on that lined piece of paper? How much privilege do you have? I know that personally, almost every single one of those questions applied to me, and so I was able to step forward almost every single time. It's important to recognize your privilege and to recognize that not everyone has this privilege. So let's move on. Now, a little bit abruptly, we're going to start talking about color blindness. So you might have heard of color blindness before, right? Color blindness is when people act like they don't see color or that skin color doesn't exist, right? And it's supposed to be a way to be anti-racist, a way to not discriminate. So we're having a session aimed at discussing race and noticing race and discussing racism and noticing these problems prevalent in our world. So if you have heard of color blindness, you might be wondering, wouldn't it be better to take a step back and not discuss this and to treat everyone like they're equal? To combat racism, we need to talk about it. Color blindness takes away that ability. Color blindness would work in a perfect world, but it will not work in the world that we are in because the colorblind approach takes away from the experience of people of color. Because when people refuse to see color, they are looking through the lens of the default in America, whiteness. So when we pretend not to see color, we can't analyze the impact that color has in our world because we do live in a world that is governed by race and in which many factors are affected by racism. It's a sad truth, but it's a truth, right? So to combat racism, we need to discuss racism and do everything we can to fight racism. Colorblindness also removes the diversity and individuality. Instead of honoring our differences and respecting our roots, colorblindness takes away aspects of identity that many people love and cherish. Instead of acting like we're all the same, which we're obviously not, we can honor our differences and celebrate our shared humanity. This brings us to the alternative of colorblindness, color honoring. When we honor color, we say yes. We see how you are similar and different from me. We say yes, we see you. We say yes, we're all different, but we're all beautiful. We did an activity in our last video, which you may or may not have chosen to partake in, which we did a skin color naming activity. That is one aspect of color honoring because we are showing how we are all different, how we're all proud of ourselves and our beautiful and our beauty, and we are all valuing and respecting everyone. We hope that you enjoyed the third video in our Let's Talk Race series, and we can't wait to see you in our fourth video, where we're going to start discussing racism and what it is. Thank you.